10 years ago, around 1 million migrants and refugees, mostly fleeing from conflict in the Middle East, came to Europe requesting asylum. It was a crisis that stretched across the continent. For the most part, they were welcomed. But since then, attitudes towards migration across the continent have changed significantly, with many countries introducing much stricter border controls. Our special correspondent Fergal Keane looks at how public sentiment is changing.
It's quiet now. The end of summer on Lesbos. But 10 years ago, we witnessed the arrivals that would change Europe. Locals joined international volunteers to offer help.
They lost everything and they tried to find some other place, good life.
It's tourism as usual nowadays. Across Europe, asylum arrivals are down by 20% this year. But Paris Laumas thinks it may be temporary, that conflict will drive new arrivals.
Of course I worried. I think now with all the situation in Syria, in Gaza, it comes in my brain many things, and I'm not feel very well.
Europe is no longer a place of welcome. On Lesbos, the Coast Guard on patrol.
So what happened? How did Europe go from what looked like a policy of open arms back then to the crackdown on migration we're seeing now?
Gunmen dressed.
Security is a common concern, especially in countries like France, where terror attacks in 2015 fueled far-right calls for a clampdown.
The spread of these migrants in the villages and cities of France, of course, raises fears.
In Germany, sexual assaults on New Year's Eve 2015, many by newly arrived young men, along with economic discontent, helped drive support for anti-migration policies. Over 800 miles to the north, on Hungary's border with Serbia, these volunteers are paid by the state to keep migrants out. And the attitude is hardline. I feel sad and angry and most of all worried about what's coming, says Sándor Nagy. The occupation of Western Europe has been happening for 10 years. The patrols are armed, but Sándor says the people trafficking gangs are always one step ahead of them. In Budapest, the government is paying €1 million a day in European court fines for restricting the entry of asylum seekers. A minister told me it was hypocrisy because its policies were now being imitated by many in Europe.
We feel vindicated. The bottom line is that we need to protect our borders, which means that it should be us and not somebody else deciding who enters the territory of Hungary and the European Union and who does not.
But it's a further 1,000 miles north that the change in sentiment is most profound. Here in Sweden, the Prime Minister had this to say in 2015.
I know that Swedish people can be patient and open their hearts.
But now a far-right anti-migrant party is a key power broker after an electoral breakthrough, amid public fear over rising gang violence.
It's one of Sweden's most well-visited museums.
In the picture postcard town of Karlstad in the west, painter Daniel Hessarp says his country has been changed.
We see it's the statistics of the crimes, who does it and such. So there you have the answer. You know, it's not. We didn't have this before in Sweden.
People born abroad and their children born in Sweden are overrepresented in crime statistics. But Sweden's foreign ministry says low levels of education, unemployment, refugees' war trauma are all causes, not the fact of being a migrant. Syrian refugee Abdul Menem al-Sattouf says his family faces hostility and racist abuse. I first met him in 2013, trying to reach Europe with his son Hassoun.
Why do you think it is?
Today, Hassoun is 13, and his mum says growing up in a country where she no longer feels welcome.
The treatment has got worse. When I first arrived in Sweden, I learned the Swedish language. Then I entered their workforce. I worked in kitchens and as a cleaner and in childcare. I'm just like them.
Back on Lesbos, freshly dug migrant graves. Among the 30,000 people who've died trying to reach Europe on different routes in the last decade. And while arrivals are down, the human desperation driving people to risk everything is the enduring and complex reality that won't go away. Fergal Keane, BBC News, Lesbos.